Hey everybody, it's Yo Taylor back here at the Style Table on MyStyle Mondays. And January is a great month because it's the month that we're all like our New Year's resolutions, our goals, everything that we want to achieve is happening during this month. New you, inside and out. And today I am here with founder of Miss Ketoality, Denise Stewart Smith, who is a friend of mine for many years. And I telling you, when I say okay, first off, she's a fashionista. Secondly, I watched her literally transform herself, her outer self, her inside, and everything through keto. And she's going to share with us her journey. I always tell women, listen, you can't because you can. You need to look good right now. You don't have time to wait. You don't have opportunities are never lost, they go to other people, so you need to look good right away. But at the same time, you need to take your time and do things healthy and focus on your health, exercise and eat right for your health, because that is more important than just whether or not you can get into a dress. Just buy a larger size and keep it moving, but it's all about your health. And she's going to share her personal inspiring journey as to what she did to transform her body, her health, her life, and everything. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
So, just start from the beginning. When you started keto, what was, how did you decide I'm going to do keto, and how do you do keto? Because you do
Mhm.
keto a little differently.
I do. So it was just happenstance. I'll just go back just to give you kind of how I got to the point that I got to. So my family has a history of diabetes. My grandmother, my father, my mother, my brother. And so I was aware at a young age there was a possibility as I got older that I could develop diabetes. My father passed away. My grandmother, my father, my mother, my brother's now ill with it. And every year, faithfully, I would get my labs and have my annual checkup with my doctor. So in January 2019, my normal yearly checkup, I came back with the results of I was diabetic. And so for me, that was my turning point. And actually, that moment that I was diagnosed with diabetes, it scared me to life. So my doctor, who I love and actually saved my life, um, said that, had I heard of keto, which I knew nothing. I knew nothing about keto. I wasn't trying to diet. I thought I ate pretty healthy. I didn't like drink sodas, and I didn't really think I ate badly, but my body told me otherwise. And so she said that keto, let me backtrack. Um, because I was in shock, I said, do I have to take medication? And she said, yeah. She said, your A1C was in the high sevens. And that meant that my pancreas was not working optimally. And so I would have to start on medication. And then we can kind of see taking the medication, how my body would change if it did. So for me, though, taking medication is not really anything that I want to do because I feel like that's treating symptoms and not getting to the root. But my doctor is the type that tries to get to the root source. So that's where she recommended keto. And so I started asking about that. And she said, that could change the dynamics of my body internally. And she just gave me a little bit of information, but I didn't hear anything else outside of I was a diabetic and I had to get on medicine. So we continued on with my appointment. Um, she said we'll start testing every 3-ish months, after prescribing the medication and see what happens. But I'm sure she thought too that I wouldn't change anything, that I would have to continue just taking medication. So the hope would be when I came back for my next appointment, maybe my A1C would be lower. But what happened was at that moment, I got to my car and I sat and I literally took out my phone and Googled keto. And immediately what I got was, you have to cut out the carbs and the sugar. And then there was a lot of eating eggs, cheese, bacon, avocados. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. So I came home cold turkey. I come from an Asian household. So I had a 20 pound bag of rice that was always prepared with the meals in a rice cooker. So it was rice and then the meal. I came home, threw out everything white. I threw out my white flour. I threw out the sugar. I threw out that 20-pound bag of rice, and I threw out my rice cooker. And for 2 weeks, I cooked nothing but eggs scrambled over easy, like every way humanly possible you can make an egg. I made. I added cheese or not. I had bacon. I had avocado. But I was sick of it by 2 weeks because there's only so many ways you can cook eggs and add avocado and bacon. To this day, my daughter doesn't like eggs anymore because of that. So what happened after 2 weeks, I was sick of that, but I got on the scale and I lost 12 pounds. And I'm like, ooh, okay, Denise, so you have to make this work because clearly the weight, and it wasn't a matter of me losing weight. For me, it was just that was an additional bonus to this keto. I didn't even realize I was really going to lose weight because my focus was I wanted my A1C down. But in that process, I'm like, but I lost 12 pounds. So I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out. So that was 2019. I went back after cutting out the carbs. So in my house, which was rice, and I cut out the sugars for the most part. I didn't drink soda, but I drank lots of juices, and that has lots of sugar. And I kind of stuck with water through that first 3.5 months from January 31st, 2019. So when I went back in April, my A1C had dropped to 6.2. And she said, oh, and I lost weight on top of that. And she's like, you're doing really great. She said, you may not have to stay on medication. So you'll come back again in July and we'll test you again. So at this point, I'm like, okay, what I learned was clearly what triggers my body were carbs. And when and sugar. So I identified things that impacted my body. And I'm like, okay, so I love rice. I need to find a substitute because I need to sustain at this point. Because what I didn't want, I had to break the cycle of this diabetes. What I didn't want was to stay on that and then develop the illnesses that are associated with that. So again, in my family, consistently with diabetes, then came renal issues, kidney failure, chronic kidney disease, and then congestive heart failure, neuropathy, eyesight. So what I didn't want, and I knew was, okay, well, if I'm going to continue this, then I need to make this work. So I started to figure out like the things that I loved that I was eating and a substitute for that. So for rice, and I would have never thought this before, I started reading cauliflower rice and I'm like, there's no way, like I didn't even eat cauliflower. There are foods now that I never ate growing up. And by the way, let me just say this. Everything that I knew as a child, how I ate, like eat all your food before you leave the table, is not what I should be doing. And the sizes that we have on plates are not single sizes, by the way. They're several serving sizes, but like I had to retrain my mind to understand that I'm not young, first of all, because when we're younger, we feel like we can eat actually anything and not gain weight. And we don't necessarily have health issues. But as we get older, all of that changes. So for me, it was like, so rice, then I have to find a substitute for that. So then it was cauliflower. I had to shred cauliflower. And I'm like, there's no way this is going to be a substitute. But then I said, Denise, you got to make it work. So I started experimenting with food. So cauliflower was like kind of my first experiment because I'm like, I eat rice with everything. So I have to find a substitute for that. So I started um, cooking, experimenting with cooking using cauliflower. And I can make a mean shrimp cauliflower fried rice, and you would not even know that it's not regular rice, jasmine rice, which is what I was accustomed to. Um, and then another food that was a trigger for me were potatoes. I could eat mashed potatoes, baked potatoes, French
Mhm. Me
fries.
too. Me too.
I can, and it was so bad that I could even smell, like I could be in an elevator and somebody would have just gotten off and I can smell, I'm like, somebody just had French fries, or I smell potatoes. That's how bad it was. Like it was very addictive. I'm like, oh, Denise. So I had to satisfy like that taste in my palate. So researching, I'm like, there has to be a substitute for that. That's equivalent. That's
Mhm.
low. And what I found were, again, I'm eating foods I would have never picked up or eaten when I was younger, but daikon radishes, if you cut them like steak fries and then season them in a little bit of olive oil and season any way you want, marinate for a little bit and air fry them. When they roast or air fry, they take on a different texture. And they were close enough for me to be a substitute for French fries. And so
That's
radishes,
amazing.
but it is. But again, in salads, I would have never had raw radishes because I didn't like radishes. But again,
Yeah,
if you take
yeah.
radishes, season them again with a little bit of olive oil and whatever spices you want, and you air fry them, they take on a whole different texture and flavor when they're cooked, baked, roasted. And so I'm like, okay, I'm checking the boxes off because I'm like, I got rice down. I have a substitute. I have potatoes down. I'm good. Um, and then it just became like, I became a scientist in the kitchen. And I'm like, okay, Denise, now I'm not living to eat. I'm eating to live now. So I can't
Mhm.
really say like some of the foods that I ate early on were things I would have ever chosen, but it was like, I have to make this work because my A1C is going down. And again, the benefit to that is like I'm losing weight, which again was unexpected because that was not the purpose to begin with. It was my health. So July came around and it was time for my labs again. And the results came back. I was down to 4.9. And she said, nope, I'm
Wow.
taking you off the meds. She said, I'm taking you off the meds. She said, I said, do I have to go back on? She said, as long as you maintain your A1C, Denise, you won't have to go back on medicine. And that was July of 2019. And I haven't been on medication since. But during that time, I had to master cooking. For me, again, what's very important was that meal prep. I can't say that I even cooked before, really. I was it's easier to order or go to a restaurant. It's easier, really, it is. But in that beginning January, it was like, nah, now my health is at risk here and I've got to do things differently. Insanity is what doing things
Mhm.
over and over, expecting different results. And so what I was doing no longer works for me. So I have to figure out a way to reset my body and even how I think. And that was where I can't keep drinking juices. I mean, in my mind, I had convinced myself, well, I'm not drinking soda, so it's not bad. But that's not necessarily true. You
Yeah, they
know,
always I remember them saying that it's always better to eat your juice. It's always better just to eat the fruit as opposed to drink juice. That's when I cut out the juices, except for the occasional mimosa. Yeah.
well, I mean, I can't even say I'm disciplined enough, but what I'll also say too is keeping those things away from you too is not good. Like they're right to err is human, and you're human, and if I feel like drinking juices or a mimosa, like you say,
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. I mean, but I have been disciplined and committed enough to know one's not going to hurt me. And I can't even say if I ate potatoes, it still would be fine. I just think things have to be done differently. So if you used to eat me, if so, if I have mashed potatoes or something like potatoes or French fries, it would have to be in moderations and smaller portions and not consistently. So and I'm okay with that. Like I've accepted the fact that it's okay to do that. Like you can't beat yourself up over, oh my God, I didn't do this. Like, I, you know, I ate
Right.
you did, and that's fine. Just get yourself back on track and reset again, because it really, to me, I say it all the time. I've talked to a lot of people and trying to help them, because what works for me doesn't necessarily work for others.
Right.
But
Right.
people have to identify what their triggers are, and they have to learn their body. And I can say, for me, I've done that. I can help others do that, but I can't like tell you. I can only guide you and just kind of give you the guidelines of what you should be thinking about, because it's really about resetting your thinking process. And I always say, once you reset your mind, the rest will follow. Your body will respond to that, and it does. And I also hate saying too, I exercise now, but like for that first year, I didn't. It was all dietary, but I was really consistent about it. And I would always say, as much, I mean, I can tell you, oh, I do work out, because the first thing they say is you work out all the time. I mean, in the beginning. And I said, I would say, I could tell you that, and I don't want to tell you that, but I don't. Like it's just me in the kitchen, really. My body just responded to that. Now, what I'll say is it's important to be physically active.
Yes.
And I would even say like 3 or 4 times a week. I said, because for me, my body can't handle that. Minimally 3 times a week, but be consistent with it. So what I tell people is, if you're going to add physical activity, and you commit to 1 day a week for 15 minutes, then commit to 1 day a week for 15 minutes. Be
Yeah.
consistent about it. And then once your body adjusts to that, then you can go ahead and say, maybe I'll do it 30 minutes, or maybe I'll add in another day. But I would never say work out every day, because not everyone responds like that. You just can't do that. There's just like medicine, there's not a panacea. There's not one cure for all.
Right.
People, you have to find the right cocktail to make your body respond the way you need for it to respond.
That's why I
So
always, when I'm talking with women about getting dressed and things like that, I don't recommend any diets. You have to find, like you said, you have to find what works for you. And the reason why I asked my beautiful friend to come on the show is because she talks about doing things slowly, methodically, safely, in a healthy way that's realistic and holistic. I am now, I tell you what, you guys, you need to go to her group page. You need to look at her Instagram, because the food she's cooking, I'm like, OMG, it looks so delicious. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. And she really is a, I'm just going to call her keto chef. I can say that, because I mean the food looks amazing. I We were talking earlier, and I can say I have been eating eggs and avocado and bacon all this week, all like last week and all over the weekend. Today I had just a spinach egg white omelet today. So I mean, I'm trying to get in a habit, because I too have my grandparents, my dad is suffering through um, complications as it results with diabetes. So, and it doesn't matter what your size is. You can easily, if you're, I guess you have, if it's in your family history, you have a high chance of developing it. So, put your health first. And then, because the dress, don't worry about the number in the dress. Nobody cares. But worry about the numbers at the doctor's office. That data is real. And when you have health problems, you only have one problem, and that's your health. The dress is it doesn't even matter. It's not even an issue. So take care of your health. And we're going to talk about her style too, because she's also someone who is, all this happened. You were like, were you 50? I know I'm older than you are.
So I just turned 56 December.
Okay.
And it was, I was 49 December. So that January I had just turned 50. Correct. You're correct. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah, so that's another thing. So people think, "Oh, I can't do it," or whatever. You can totally transform your life and reinvent your health, your life, whatever you want to do, just because it's your life. When you're that age, you can do anything that you want to do and need to do. And I literally, okay, this woman looks so good in her clothes. I always, sometimes, you, when you get to be that age, you want to like, oh, I need to dress age appropriate. But what is age appropriate? And if you're a master at it, you can dress youthful and fun and sexy and without looking like you're trying to look like you said, your 20-year-old daughter. You're looking good. You look hot. I mean, you look hot. The pictures you were posting, I was like, look at her, sizzle fry. You looked amazing. And I just, so tell me mentally, how did you feel when when you started feeling healthier and you started changing and your body started changing in a different direction as a result of this? How did that change your style, or did it, or?
it absolutely did. So the unhealthier me, and I guess it's how I felt on the inside as well as on the outside. I mean, I like, it's not that I didn't care, but I, there was nothing that, I guess I dressed the way that I felt. Like, I wore a lot of black, I have to say. And I think black is very sophisticated, but my black then was kind of like how I felt. Like, it was kind of, I won't say
Wow.
dark, but um because I love black. Like, I mean, I have black in my closet now, but I never wore colors. And I think it was because how I felt inside. I didn't feel like bright. And it's funny that you say that, because when people come up to me now, who have seen like my transition, they're like, "You look really great." I said, "But I feel really great. Like, more importantly, I feel great
Yeah.
inside out." And I think how you feel on the inside exudes on the outside. And so I'm 56 now. I just turned, but like, I'm really 36 in my mind, because that's really how I feel. And I feel almost as strong as I did when I was in my 20s. So before the change in my style, pre and post, I like I suffered from also a lot of ailments too. Like, I had a lot of inflammation, so, and sciatica pain, um, and I think a lot changing my food also affected that, because I haven't had any issues since then. Um, but going back again to how my style, it was dark. Black was what I had. Black shirt. Like, I never had anything bright, and what I felt like kind of cheery, just because I didn't think it represented like me. And
Mhm.
so when my health started changing, and I started taking care of myself, and the self healing and the self care, like, I started, and I hate to say I didn't love myself, but I was just in a very different place. So much had gone on
Mhm.
with my family, and just watching the disease and everything, all the illnesses that came with it's really hard. And for me, I was determined that I was going to break that cycle. So when I did, um, it was kind of a breakthrough, and it was like, you know what? Um, well, I love these. Like, I started picking out things that I would have not ever picked during
Mhm.
that time, that long period. And then it's like, um, I have to give my daughter some acknowledgement, because it was she who kind of said, "Mom, you, like, you have to find a style icon, or a style, someone who
Mhm.
dresses the way you would like to, and make it your own." So it was she who actually, I tell her she's created a monster,
Yeah.
because she's like, no, like, so I started following different people and their file since. And I'm like, I love that. And then you also said something very key about like dress your age. What's your age? Like, I feel like they need to rephrase that.
Yeah,
Dress your, what is your age? Because I'm
right.
56, but I mean, what's really, how should a 56-year-old really
Girl
dress?
dress. Exactly. How
Because
should it- It's based on how you feel and how you look. Now, there's always, some of these trends are because there's always a fine line between too trendy and tacky.
right,
But, and even young women shouldn't probably wear some of that, but, they do because they're
true.
young. And we all did it when we were young. But I will say, I'm like, if you have great legs, show them. You know what I mean? There's no, there's no expiration date on a short skirt. If you have great legs, show them.
No, I
That's the
agree. And
expiration date on style.
but
That's
fashion transcends times. I have a skirt that I've had forever that has come back. Asymmetrical, beautiful leather. I mean, no one would have not no one would have known that was back in 1990s. I mean, no one knows. And I think fashion recycles. It comes back.
it does.
It always
It does.
comes back. So it's so funny because I held on to that because I thought I have several pieces from long ago where I'm like, um, I wear these now and no one would have any idea that they're like 30
Nobody
years
knows.
older than my daughter.
Right.
So
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. And they do. Because there's only, even the most creative people, there's only so much that they can do. And they do recycle themselves. I was just looking at some shows because I'm always on the treadmill and that's when I watch my fashion shows. But sometimes I like to go back to like in the late 90s
mhm,
because that trend, the 90s look is starting to come back, which I
okay.
love. Because
Mhm,
and I will say there is nothing in those shows that you would not wear now, and you wouldn't even know. And
mhm,
that's why the reloved industry is 120 billion with a B dollar industry because you could sell that right now if you wanted to and make whatever you want to make off of it because it is it look especially if it's well kept.
mhm.
So, I'm glad you kept it, and I want to see it on you in some kind of picture or something
Mhm.
because you look amazing, and I'm so glad I finally got a chance to talk to you about this. You guys, Denise is going to put she has a group page. She has like 4,000 people who are like following her. And on this page, she's cultivated this group of people who understand how to do keto without punishing themselves. And it's a great page, lots of great recipes, lots of good ideas on how to adjust your diet. I am going to try the radish thing. I did not eat, I don't, I don't like
You'll be amazed.
radishes.
I
And
didn't.
I'm eating Brussels sprouts. I remember sitting at the table as a kid, and you parents said you eat all your food, and I wouldn't. I wouldn't eat the peas. I wouldn't eat the Brussels sprouts, and I'd fall asleep at the table because I wasn't eating them. Now, oh my God, I love Brussels sprouts. I love all that stuff. So yeah, you'll fall in love with the things you didn't eat as a kid. It's all about the seasoning.
Right.
It's
It is.
all about
It is.
mindset
It is. We
and
have to change
mindset.
that. It is. It
So
is.
she's
It
going
is.
to drop all of her information in the comments
Mhm.
below. Um, so please reach out to her. She's got a lot of exciting things on the horizon. I'm sure she's going to share that later on when she's ready.
Yes.
But she's doing a lot of fantastic things. Please follow her on Instagram and Facebook. And she's going to tell us her Instagram page and Facebook group right now.
I am. So on IG, I am at Miss Ketoality, altogether KETOALITY underscore on IG. And then on the Facebook group page, it is Keto on in the Ninja Foodie and more. Those are the two. So, and then let me just add really quickly too. So it started off as keto, but like I promote not just keto because what I did was actually called dirty keto, where I didn't count macros. I'm not a numbers person. I would have failed miserably at like Weight Watchers counting points. I just don't do that. So for me, I didn't count anything. I just cut them out. And so now it's a modified keto, low carb kind of diet because for me, my body needs carbs to burn energy. And so if you're physically active or not, even your body still needs carbs. So I just want to make that disclaimer that it started off as dirty keto and now it's just a dirty keto combination of low carb.
See, I just learned something. Dirty keto. I
Mhm.
didn't even know that. But see, I love it because I love doing these shows. I'm learning so much, and it's so educational. I'm learning things and changing my diet and how I eat and think about my health too. And you guys know where you can find me at the Style Table at thestyletable.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn. Please, you can see this show every Monday at 7 p.m. You can see Denise and many other fabulous people on My Style Mondays at 7 p.m. I'm also going to be giving my tips. I'm doing a presentation on the 12th at 4 o'clock, and I'm going to give my 5 quick tips to styling over 40. And it's going to be fun. Go on, register, watch it. I'm there to answer any questions you have. And you can also pick up my book, Women Inspiring Women Who Boss Up. You can also register and pick up the book as well. I appreciate your support in that. All right. See you guys next week on My Style Mondays.